Do you want that?
Oh, yeah. Because I never got an answer from Heather when she was on my doorstep. The Ministry of Labor, they were called into the township office. What was the reason they were called in?
So I had a number of staff call and complain with how they were being treated by some members of council.
Okay.
I can't make a complaint to for them, right?
Right.
Because the process is they make a complaint to our CAO. So after a number of complaints and the firing of our CAO at the time without council approval, I called an HR consultant and I said, here's what's happening. What should I do? And they said, well, you as a member council are an employer and you have the duty to make sure that your workplace is free from harassment. You have the duty to protect employees. So they recommended I call the Ministry of Labor.
Okay.
I called the Ministry of Labor, and at that point, they came in and did an investigation. It didn't cost anything, and they issued an order. They issued an order for the township to get a third party to investigate based on their findings of the initial inspection. So that's what ended up costing $70,000 after the fact, was that third party investigation that said that members of council were acting inappropriately.
Okay, yeah, because I couldn't get an answer, so I'm just like, well, there'll usually be a statement what the complaint was, and what the actions were moving forward.
Yeah,
she couldn't tell me that, or wouldn't tell me that.
Yeah, so that's all.
No, I was just curious. Yep.
And that came up again today on Facebook, so I posted a link to to that report that was done.
Oh, okay.
Because she said that the whole line is always it's all these investigations and nothing's ever found, but that's incorrect, because every single one of them has found that somebody's acted inappropriately. So it's all there. I don't know why you would continue saying that it didn't happen, because the reports are all part of our agendas. So
well, yeah, it's got to be transparent.
Yeah, so it's all there.
Okay, no, thanks for the update.
No problem. Here till 8 o'clock, because that's when I said I'd be available. In the meantime, I'll just go over the Facebook post that Heather posted and just provide my comments, and then I'll post this on Facebook or whatever, because it's being recorded. So I'll just get into it, and if anybody has anything they want to talk about, just let me know. So her first comment was taking issue with me using the term "I" during the debate. In this context, we're speaking about what we've accomplished and what we can do for the township. So I thought "I" was appropriate. I apologize if anyone takes issue with the use of the term "I." Her next comment has to do with the industrial development in the township. Her comment was, the land is owned by developers, not council. The developer is building warehouses and is promoting the property to make a profit. Yes, it's in council's best interest to have the land and premises occupied, but it's the developer that is doing the promoting and marketing, not council. So to take credit for the two large companies that are moving onto this property isn't right. Council or any member of council had nothing to do with attracting these businesses. So, well, it's true that we don't own the land. I'm not taking credit for anything. I'm just stating the fact that for the past 12 to 18 months, the developer has been calling me when they need assistance with county permitting issues. They've been calling me when they wanted prospective tenants to be able to talk to somebody from the township. I've been on calls with the auction house and calls and meetings with Cal Tire, because they want to know what the township's all about. They're looking for somebody to represent the township, and I've been more than happy to do that. So council's supported it when specific issues have come to council, but above and beyond that, I've been in, contact probably every 2 weeks for the past year and a half with the developers, trying to help them out to get the development done because it's major tax money. So, and I do have a quote from the developer thanking me for all the help to get it approved. So that's on my website. Our next issue was at the beginning of the last term, Orangeville Council unanimously decided to tell the paper they were going to take over subdivision land in Amaranth and trade us the Humber College land. When they found out this wasn't going to happen, they proposed buying the Pullen Well. Council had 2 people as a delegation go to the Orangeville mayor and deputy mayor to work out the details. Then council approved what was offered, a delegation of 2, and then council. Again, not one person was responsible for this agreement. I agree. I was sent by another member of council to negotiate a deal. I don't think I ever said I was, I did anything other than negotiate on behalf of the township. I was selected to do it. We got a $500,000 payment for the township and settled a 20-year disagreement with the town of Orangeville. So that is accurate. So the next says the Ministry of Labor complaint was made by one person. This is correct. I've never denied it. I called the Ministry of Labor after numerous calls from staff complaining about harassment. I talked to an HR professional at my own cost, and they said all members of council were liable for responsible for protecting the staff from harassment. So their recommendation was that I contact the Ministry of Labor, which I did. It resulted in the Ministry of Labor inspection. And I've mentioned this a number of times when asked in council and out. I've never denied that I contacted the Ministry of Labor. In fact, I told the council that I was going to contact the Ministry of Labor before I did it. So I'm completely transparent there. He announced at council he made the complaint and then also announced that he was making his lawyer available to what he considered the injured party to pursue a lawsuit against the township. This is absolutely incorrect in any way, shape, or form. I don't know what else to say. It's a lie. I never said that. Next, the Ministry of Labor investigation was completed. The lawsuit was settled and it cost the taxpayers of Amaranth approximately $70,000 in total. The Ministry of Labor sent a letter to the person who complained with the results of the investigation. All of this is on the public record. This one is somewhat accurate. As I mentioned before, I called the Ministry of Labor. They issued an order for an investigation, and that's where their involvement ended. The investigation was completed by a third party as required, and that third party cost was $70,000 in total. The website has a summary of the investigation findings, but it's important to note that if there were no grounds for a harassment complaint, then the Ministry of Labor wouldn't have issued an order for an investigation. There would have been no cost to the township. There was a reason to do an investigation. The investigation was completed. It found there was workplace harassment. There was a $70,000 cost. I would make that complaint again because there was wrongdoing, and we corrected it, and it did cost money, but that is not on me. So, and actually the 70,000 is probably low. I figure that the actual costs are in excess of $100,000 when you factor in the legal costs and everything else. And also beyond that, those members of council probably cost over $500,000 in additional costs to the township for subsequent actions and additional integrity commissioner reports. So next one is in 2018, just prior to the election, the council was taken into closed session and was revealed the auditor had discovered an accounting error of a significant magnitude. At the beginning of 2019, the new mayor wanted to start budget talks. The accounting error had not been revealed to the new mayor or the new councilor. I was waiting for the deputy mayor to say something, as it was apparent the clerk wasn't. So this is a fictionalized version of events. I would say there was a budgeting error. It wasn't revealed to the new members immediately. It's not correct to say that I was sitting there not doing anything about it. There's a number of text message exchanges between Councilor Foster and I for the first few months of the term, outlining what we were doing together to get it out into public. I've got copies of those posted on my website. March 30th, for example, we discussed how we were both concerned that this wasn't brought forward yet. April 1st. March 30th, I also indicated that I had emailed the CAO to make sure that it would come forward at the next meeting. And between April 2nd and 6th, we exchanged numerous texts about how we were going to discuss it in the closed section of the next meeting. And then finally, by April, I'd had enough and demanded that we go into close to reveal the issue. At that point, the deputy mayor demanded a public meeting to discuss this error that he already knew about. At the meeting, he stated the auditors be fired. However, they did their job by exposing the issue, but there was never any consequences for the individuals who created the problem. So this is also not accurate. Oh, sorry, we just got somebody else joining. I'm just going to pause for a second. Hi, Adrian. We're just, Heather isn't here. I'm just going through her post and my rebuttal. So the one now is that I demanded a public meeting to discuss an error. Yes, it's not accurate. We both pushed for the closed meeting to bring it to the attention of the new members of council. I didn't demand a public meeting at the time. When I did demand a public meeting, it's after we passed a budget. I put forth a motion to reconsider so that we could present the budget with a double-digit tax increase to the public so we could explain the error. Because I didn't think that passing a 18 to 20% budget increase in the middle of a daytime meeting without any notice was appropriate or transparent. So I also put forth a motion to have budget meetings going forward, final budget meetings as a public meeting before passing, and got that approved for 1 year. But then COVID happened and we didn't after that. I did ask for a motion at some point for the auditors to be fired. That was supported by all members of council. The reason was not because they made the error. It's because that year they were especially late completing the audit. It was 10 or 11 months after the prior year end, which meant the error wasn't caught and carried over to an additional year. And then next comment was, Amaranth is in a much better financial position without East Halifax in our office. Yes, our costs were going down, and then due to the pandemic went up. Everyone's costs went up. Amaranth wasn't unique. This is completely incorrect. At no point ever after the exit of East Halifax were our staffing or operating costs down. I think she's pointing to fuel, and even that we're in a locked-in contract with Arthur's Fuel for a fixed fuel rate, so our costs have not fluctuated as significantly as everybody else's, and it's impossible to to realistically think that you can remove somebody paying 40% of your utility bills and 40% of salaries for all positions except for one, and still have costs going down. You know, if you want to say that East Fairfax was leaving was a good thing, that's fine. But you know, it's not a good thing because costs have gone down. Maybe if you want to say it's good because now we have a planner that is doing 100% of Amaranth's work, that's fine. But it's not a financial decision. So as I said in the first debate, between East Fairfax leaving and now, our admin salary has gone up over $150,000. Our planning salary has gone up over $48,000 per year, so that's over $200,000, and our utility bills gone up 31.5% since they left. So, you know, costs have gone up. You can't deny that. So that's a significant increase to our budget. Finally, she says we need a team on council. We need people willing to work together. I agree. There were too many decisions before being made by a certain block of members prior to a meeting on the phone without any transparency, and too much misbehavior resulting in significant costs to the taxpayer. So you can't have a block of people saying we're running together, we're going to vote together, and still call yourself a democracy if you're all predetermined that you're gonna agree on everything. So that is all for that. So if anybody has any questions on that or anything else, really, just let me know. You've got me till 8 o'clock. If you need anything, I'll stick around.
I'm guessing Heather's not going to make an appearance.
You know, she said she'd try, so I figured I'll stay here till I'll keep the video going till 8, because that's when I said I'd be on, and if she joins, then we can have a chat. And because I'm recording it, I'll post the video if she shows up. Otherwise, I'll send her an invite for tomorrow. See if she wants to chat then.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I will check back in a few.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
I was wondering, like, I was at the all candidates meeting the other night, and it came up, well, one of the questions was something about paving 6th line.
Yes.
Yeah, where did that sort of come from, like that idea? Because like 11 and 12 are both county roads, right? So I assume they don't cost us directly to maintain. So I'm just wondering kind of where that idea sort of, or what you think of that idea, or where that came from, or that was the first I heard of that at all.
Yeah, it's the first I heard of it. So I have no idea where it came from. There's no plans, no plans to pave additional roads.
No.
You know, every once in a while we get a new resident, you know, that says, you know, I've just moved in on 2nd line. When's it going to be paved? And the answer is usually never. You know, there's some people that say paved roads are actually cost less to maintain than gravel roads, and maybe it is. Like, we spend hundreds of thousands a year on gravel road maintenance. Maybe that's the case. My problem is less with costs, although that's important, but it's speed. And, you know, to me, you want your main roads, being the county roads, paved, so that you're sort of driving the traffic to those. If every road is paved, every road's going to be, you're going to have a speed problem on every road. And we can't get the OPP out to enforce speeding as is. So I think that's just going to make it worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wondered if that was sort of really a thing, or.
No, we had probably 5 years ago, we had a grant, or we were pre-approved for a grant, which we eventually used to repave part of 20 Side Road. And at that time, a couple people wanted to discuss paving more of 5 Side Road.
Yeah.
But that was decided against. So.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I wish we could slow down the traffic because like I live on County Road 10. I like to bike and so on, but boy, it seems there is a lot. I don't know where everybody's going along County Road 10 because, you know, there's nothing at either end of it really, but, but there's
Yeah.
nothing to be done about that, I guess. It's just the amount of traffic and it's just less safe, right?
Yeah, whereabouts are you on 10?
I live in Laurel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's
Yeah.
not too much. Like that's a tough one because it's
Yeah.
not really the type of road you can put speed bumps on or anything. And
No.
you can lower the speed limit, but all that's going to do is like they're still going to ignore it. So,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you could do something around Laurel to slow people down as they come in, but
Yeah, you'd think maybe the stop sign might, but
oh, well, a lot of people treat stop
Anyway.
signs as optional.
I know. Anyway, thanks for doing this.
No problem.
And yeah, good for you.
Thanks. If you've got any more questions, you've got my email, I'm sure, phone numbers.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
No problem.
What's your thoughts, Chris, on some of the complaints and stuff that we get for for the traffic issues, speeding and people not stopping at stop signs? Do you think it's worth, you know, spending the money on infrastructure changes, or would we be more worthwhile to get more enforcement from the OPP out here?
That's a good question. So we got one intersection at County Road 12 and 20 Side Road that there's not a lot of accidents, but I know from experience there's a lot of near misses. And there was a death there a couple of years ago and a death a couple of years prior to that. And my parents live right at that intersection. And the problem there is that people are running a stop sign. We've added a flashing light above the intersection. We've added flashing lights and actually street lights above it. And they still continue to go through it. So I think now we're making it a 4-way stop. But you know, if people are going to run through stop signs, like you can't fix stupid, right? So that's one issue. Then the other one is in areas like Laurel or in Waldemar here, like they have those signs up now for the speed, but I'd still prefer speed bumps. And I know Justin at the fire department has really pushed back on that, but I think that's, you know, removable speed bumps are one thing that's going to actually slow people down. Like we did a bit of a traffic study, and the average speed on Mill Street, like through the really narrow section, is like 76 kilometers an hour. And they also found that most of the traffic was coming from within Waldemar that was doing that. So, you know, I think I don't know what other physical infrastructure you can do. We looked at rumble strips at some intersections, but a lot of our intersections don't have enough built up asphalt to be thick enough to put rumble strips in. And so, you know, I think speed bumps are the way to go. What do you think from a fire department point of view?
I know why the chiefs, the emergency service chiefs, don't like them, but like you said, there's not much else we can really do without more active enforcement. Like they've put those 50 warning signs that are supposed to, you know, get your attention and slow people down around the Waldemar subdivision here, and people just drive around them, and it almost seems like they're going faster now because you pointed it out. We've had success in Grand Valley with those radar signs with the flashing lights and stuff on them, but they're also only a temporary fix. After about a month or so, people get used to them being there.
Yeah.
it's hard with no curbs and stuff here too. You really can't use those signs as effectively as you maybe could on like Russell Hill Road here, where there's curbs on both sides of the road. People aren't as willing to just move over on the grass and go faster. I think for us, the speed bumps might be the most viable option, only because policing is so expensive.
Yeah, I was talking to a supplier out of Quebec that they make them specifically so that they are narrow enough that they'll fit between the wheels of the emergency services vehicles, but still wide enough that you can't completely avoid them with cars. So, you know, maybe that's a happy medium. And then, you know, the OPP, we pay them $500,000 a year, but they don't do anything more than normal for that price. So, you know, if we were to tell them we want more specific policing for a certain area, we can get that. It's going to cost a lot of money, with no way to get money back, because the tickets they write go to the POA court in Caledon. We eventually get some portion of it back, but it's a small percentage. So, you know, it's the police have come out, you know, they come out once or twice a year, do some radar stuff, but they're not very proactive.
Yeah, it's hard to get them to answer what they consider normal isn't easy.
Yeah, no, they know the contract is impossible to read, you know, and also non-negotiable. So we're paying that. It changes every year, and we're still paying it. And it like you said, it gives you basic services, but it doesn't say they're going to be in Amaranth for this many hours per week or anything like that. It's just, you know, we've got you covered.
Yeah.
But it's a real problem. And then
there is lots of options other than like your traditional, you know, little 2-inch wide speed bump that might suit the emergency services better. They like the speed cushions, they call them now. They're raised, but they're about, you know, 3.5 to 4 feet long. So you can't.
That's exactly what this guy was proposing to me. I think it was actually closer to 6 or 7 feet by the time you had the 2 inclines and then the flat piece at the top. So it's a significant hump. And it's going to be more of a problem here when we get the developments online, and you get more traffic in. So for the
I think
I'll go ahead.
I think a lot of our neighboring municipalities are feeling the same struggle right now too, because everyone's growing, everyone's building to some extent. So we're not the only ones feeling that pain.
No, and you can do like, I know Orangeville I think last year they decreased all of their speed limits to 40 in town or something like that. I think that was to be honest, it hasn't changed how
that's a hard approach too, because that's a hard one to enforce too, because if it's not signed properly, they're never going to write a ticket for it. I mean, I don't know if they're in the same boat or not for their contracts, but to have a few guaranteed officers around to do traffic enforcement would cost a fortune.
Yeah, they maybe had a bit more flexibility when they had their own service, but now with the OPP, it's, you know, you get the same. When they redid their contracts, it's every municipality gets the exact same contract. So there's no, you know, it used to be before they negotiated on a one-off. So the contracts now are, here's how many properties there are, here's what the rate is per property, here's what your bill is. So for us, at the time it went way up, but for places like the larger municipalities, the costs actually went down quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the the ones that I'm concerned about is traffic, is, with all the development here, and then where Sylvanwood is up in Shelburne and Devonlea subdivision at 30 Side Road and between Second Line and Mono Amaranth Town Line.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's it's the same sort of thing there. There's a fourth subdivision going in now, and they're all just sort of built as these 50 or 100 acre parcels, and nobody's really thought ahead about anything. And now one of the town of Shelburne's suggestions for a Highway 89 bypass would go right through there. So one of their options, it might have been the preferred one, or their second choice, was to go across Amaranth 30 Side Road with a truck bypass to go all the way. Oh. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I broke up for a minute.
Yeah.
My internet's still kind of wonky.
Yeah, no, mine said it was unstable. I was just saying they were talking about a truck bypass across 30 Side Road up near Shelburne, and the problem with that is it's going by all these developments. And here, the Cache subdivision, that's one thing, because most of them are going to go at 9th Line. But if you get the other Sarah properties development in, and you get a similar number of homes, they're all going to end up going down Mill Street and trying to get on 109 at 10th Line, which is a horrible intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not fun on a good day.
No, that's all weekend all we hear is air horns and engine brakes. So
yeah, and it'll just get worse.
Yeah, so I was actually talking to the county about a different access at 10th Line for that reason, and he suggested that we maybe should work with Grand Valley, because they did this transportation plan to address the additional traffic that's going to come out of everything on the east side. So when Thomas Field develops the gravel pit, and they do that other commercial development or industrial development on Amaranth East Luther Town Line, I guess they were talking about upgrading the access at the town line. So I think we need to talk to them to see if there's a way we can route traffic over that direction somehow, rather than have them all trying to get on 10th Line, because it's just somebody's gonna get in a serious accident sometime soon.
Yeah.
So that's a bad spot.
And it's when there is an accident on that hill or at the bottom of the hill, it's just chaos at all those intersections.
Yeah, and there must be a lot of accidents. Like that guardrail's got to be one of the most replaced guardrails in the province. It seems like it's dented every weekend.
Yeah, they just repaired it this summer, and there's already a bunch of barrel cones on the one side.
Yeah. So
Should just almost have the contractors camp out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm beginning to doubt whether or not she's going to show up.
Yeah, that's not looking too good. I think we would have seen her by now.
Yeah. Just sending her a message on Facebook to her, replying to see if she's around.
Yeah. Ashley said she's trying to join by phone if you can let her in.
Oh, there. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't looking at the lobby.
Did anything come out of that tribunal there last week?
I checked with Nicole, and it was more of the same. They just asked for more time to work out some more details for like they're working with our legal on a settlement. You know, they've I think they've abandoned the idea of the wastewater treatment plant, so then they're just, you know, trying to figure out how many lots they can still cram on there with septics. So it's the same, like we just keep waiting and waiting for years for him to come back with something, and I'm not pressuring him, because the longer he waits, it's just his time. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I think kind of changing their mind from a wastewater treatment facility to, you know, own singular private septics is the way to go. It doesn't make sense for the municipality to get into that headache now when we've never
No.
had to in the past.
And I don't, you know, I'm not a developer, but from day one, he's had that property probably 12 years. He could have made a ton of money and been on to the next thing if he had just, you know, come in and built what was planned for. You know, Cache over here, they just bought that property this year, and they're already grading, you know, because they came in and they came in knowing they were going to be able to build 73 homes. That's what they're building. Now they haven't sold one. They've sold 16 in the pre-sale. They haven't sold one under $2 million yet. So, you know, they're in and out, doing it easy, making some, you know, some money. It's not going to be quick money, because it's still going to take them their earliest occupancies December 2023, but it's going to be a lot quicker than arguing for 12 years and not getting anywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, maybe he's got way more money than he knows what to do with. I don't know.
I wish I had that problem, to be honest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So any questions on the water system? Because I know there's been some rumors going around about you know, problems with the hydrants and stuff. You've been hearing anything about that, Neil, or anybody else?
I have had a few people ask me if there's been any updates with the forensic accounting, but I haven't looked into it personally, to be honest.
So we got a report back as far as current staff could find, which was the early 2000s, that did show that there was a balance owing at that time, based on that time, about $30,000 owed to the township from the water system. We never made a motion to, you know, to do anything about it. That's just sort of where it was left. The problem is that you know, if you're only going back 15 years, you're discounting a whole lot of years where there was grant money that came in and stuff that, you know, could potentially shift it the other way. So so that's one thing. And then the other is, you know, people have been asking me if there's problems with our fire hydrants, and I don't know where that's coming from. The upgrades to the reservoir that Cache is doing are going to increase the flow at our current fire hydrants, but that's not to say that the fire hydrants are currently not providing water at the proper flow and pressure. It's just the upgrades are going to increase it and increase the storage volume, and that's all being paid for by the developer, and they have to do that before they can build any houses.
Yeah,
I will.
Yeah, Adrian?
I was just going to say that I know a lot of that's coming from one of the people that are running for council are coming to your door telling us that the fire hydrants don't have enough water and they put a stop work order on the subdivision.
No, there's no stop work order on the subdivision. First of all, it would be posted. and it would have been in an agenda somewhere. They're done because it's winter, and they're honestly they're waiting for the Ministry of the Environment to approve the design of the reservoir, which Burnside did on behalf of the township. And then once that's done, they can do the reservoir upgrades, because like I said, they can put in roads and some of the infrastructure, but they can't actually build any buildings until the reservoir is there, because they need to be able to fight fires during construction. So there's no problems with the fire hydrants. There's no problems with the current reservoir. It's just the upgrades are going to make them better. So.
Yeah, and like I said, it's one of the councilors that came to my door and told me all about it.
Oh, well, there you go. News to me.
That's good that they're doing the upgrades beforehand. That was going to be my question: was, are they doing it before or after
Well,
building?
It's in our subdivision agreement. And then when Chief Foreman came to a recent meeting, he also made a point to remind us that he'd like to see that it gets done. Well, he said it a bit firmer than that. That it had to be done before building permits. So the only thing is they've got a provision in their subdivision agreement for them to build, I think, up to 3 model homes if they want, which nobody had a problem with. Justin was fine with that. If they do them, they'll be the 3 lots on Station Street that are closest to the existing fire hydrant. So that, but no building permits for, anything, and definitely no occupancy before there's water, obviously. But,
Yeah, that's good. The models are a bit different because there shouldn't be anyone living in them. So.
Yeah, and in talking to the builder, he said COVID's changed things so much that he doesn't even need model homes. He's likely not going to build any, because everybody's meeting online and going through virtual models with him on, through Zoom and stuff. So he said maybe he would build one, just, so people can see what the finishes look like, but he's not planning on doing too much. So, which is crazy to me that you'd buy a $2 million house just after doing like a virtual viewing. But it's one of those problems that you and I don't have, right? With too much money.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say, I couldn't even begin to think about buying a house and not looking at it first.
Yeah.
The fit and finish is a big deal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is there any like big capital projects or anything coming up this calendar year?
Well, we've got for next year, we haven't really planned anything yet because it's a new council, but there's the usual list, like there's always bridges. There's some paving that needs to get done soon, like the 5 Side Road is in pretty rough shape. It's been on the radar for a while. What's the next? I think one of the other big bridges needs to be done is actually a different 7th line bridge, the one south of Percy Ways there. It's 7th line north of 10 Side Road. It's pretty rough shape, but at the same time, that's around the area that they're going to have the plowing match next year, and I don't know if they'll want the bridge out for that. The plowing match is going to be south of there, but it might just have to wait another year. But other than that, the only other capital is just like ongoing stuff with the Grand Valley Arena that we pay into and stuff.
Yeah.
Chris, in terms of the plowing match, just since you brought it up, is there any like capital investment or investment from the township? Like, is there a return at all, or is there any financial implications of hosting it? Both, I guess, as revenue and expense?
Well, the way they normally do it is they get $100,000 loan from the municipality, upper tier municipality that's hosting it. Dufferin County did not want to do that.
County.
Yeah, and so they didn't want to do it. And after they said no, when I was speaking with them, I said, Amaranth, I don't think would have a problem hosting it. We don't have $100,000 to just lend you.
No.
So that's going to be the problem. So the short answer is no, we're not, providing any funding. What they normally do when they get it at the end of an event is whatever profits they have, they donate back locally. So, but that's usually because somebody has lent them $100,000. So I haven't had a chance to talk with them if they're still doing that. And I said, the other thing I said, like, Amaranth doesn't have the staff to volunteer staff to help you out, but I said, I'll help you out. And
and I know as a kid, when I was involved with hockey and 4-H junior farmers, there was several times where plowing matches were hosted nearby, and they relied on groups and clubs like that. And then there was a bit of an output at the end, to those clubs and organizations like minor hockey or junior farmers, 4-H, that kind of thing. So
yeah, I'm hoping there'd be the same thing, and it's being hosted between Amaranth and East Luther Grand Valley. So hopefully we can get enough volunteers. Well, they don't even have to be just from there, but locally, so that we can get it going. But it'd be a good event.
I'm home now, Chris, so I'm going to jump off and join Neil in the house.
Okay. What else we want to talk about? Talk about parks. We'll talk about the park. That's big, not issue. It's a big space that I'd like to see us use a bit more. So, and I know there's been a couple others that have been talking about it. So, Neil, do you take the kids down to the park?
Yeah, we go down quite a bit. I try part of our routine when we walk down to check the mail is stop at the park, and then we go to the bridge and kind of take the scenic route back up through the little trail access that comes out by your place at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And back around, and the kids like it down there. We were down there this summer when some of the works crews were putting in all the mulch and stuff, and the kids were asking them a million questions, and the guys were really good and patient with the kids, which was nice to see. And they were having a good time watching the trucks and everything in there. It'd be nice to see that area used more, because there's room for soccer fields, and the baseball diamond could use a bit of love, but I don't know if that's something we could put in the plan for the next year, if council be willing to put in a bit of money in the budget to, kind of freshen up some of the stuff down there. But
yeah, I think it'd be easier now because we got $140,000 cash in lieu from Cache because we asked them to reduce their park block. So that's come. I don't think that comes. I'd have to check with Nicole necessarily with the provision that you have to use it for parks. If you get cash in lieu, it might. But regardless, I'd like to see that 140,000 used for to upgrade some parks because it's in serious need of some love. Like when Carrie and I started the Waldemar Parks Committee 6-7 years ago, and we asked for council to start putting aside like $2,000 a year just for into a reserve, and that never happens. So, and we don't put anything into it on a yearly basis. So, we had.
Yeah, and we'll. Sorry.
I was just gonna say there's a lot of changes you could make, like that whole wooded area at the front. There's no reason it can't be removed, and you can have the parking lot pushed forward to give you more usable space. And because we checked with the GRCA, they don't have a problem with you cutting down as many trees as we want there. They were completely fine with that. And something as simple as just opening it up to the river so that you got to park like you do it in Grand Valley. Like there's always people picnicking right by the water, right? You can do the same thing there. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking. If you open it up a lot more and kept the grass cut and that, which isn't hard to do once the trees are gone, it's it could be quite a nice park too.
Yeah, and I'm not looking to cut down nice old trees. Like the stuff in the front's mostly poplar and some cedar. Like the poplar is a junk tree anyway. So
yeah, if we thin it out and get rid of the dead and the undergrowth underneath it, it would change the whole look of the park dramatically. And it wouldn't take a lot, but somebody to fix the park benches and stuff that are there. And there's one little toy feature, used to be like a spinning roundabout kind of thing. It's been broke for a few years. Like let's fix it and get somebody in with a little rototiller or something and work up the baseball diamond so it's actually gravel again. And just a little TLC.
That's tough. So Dwayne Wheeler's been going down there. Like before COVID, we were doing that every spring, and it grows back so fast. So
it does, yeah. It's hard to keep ahead of it.
Yeah, and there were a few years, I think 3 years in a row, where we were putting down a couple triaxle loads more, and every spring, and now you wouldn't even know that we'd done that at all. But yeah, he's got the thing to tow behind the ATV to rough it all up and stuff. He's a big baseball guy, so we did that. But and if you're gonna have a baseball diamond back there, you need to have a way for cars to get back. Like I don't know
exactly.
Or even the organizational rec leagues. Like we don't have to have minor baseball, but just start up a rec league. Like get people knowing that there's a base. You know how many people live here that don't know there's baseball diamond down there?
Yeah.
And well, I didn't until I moved here, and I grew up in the area. So that's part of the other reason we suggested opening up the front and getting rid of some of those trees. Yeah. One thing is, keeps people from dumping crap in the parking lot. It makes it a safer space if you can see what's going on from the road. And then, right now you walk by, so you drive by a pump house with a sign in front of it that says there's a park there, and you wouldn't know. So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you wouldn't know.
The highest traffic probably is people that think it's St. John Street and they turn in there by accident.
Yeah. So
I think my mom does that every time she comes.
Joe goes in to do the water check and turns around at the end and comes back to the pump house.
Yeah. And it's a massive space. Like it's such
an asset to our township. We need to put some actions in place to.
Yeah. Before COVID, Grand Valley baseball was using the diamond on a regular basis, so it was getting lots of use there for a couple of years. But now, it sort of lost momentum. But without, they were still limited because without lights or really a way to, like, the little kids don't want to have to walk all the way back there from the parking lot. So I think we can do better there.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's lots of potential because it's such a big space.
Yeah, now with that money from Cachet, and then if Sarah Properties ever develops, I know for a fact he wants as small a park space as possible. So there'd be another, cash in lieu amount available at that time, and then some of these commercial industrial developers honestly are usually looking for ways to splash some coin locally when they come in to, for good PR. So
Yeah, for sure.
I haven't talked to them yet, but I can't imagine a company like Cal Tire that's building a massive warehouse is really going to be opposed to, maybe donating some money to improve a local park. Right? They all say they want to be good corporate citizens, so let's see it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They have big success in Grand Valley. In Colbeck, they did a little park renovation there that all the residents wanted, and they were dying for a half basketball court, and they did some fundraising and then got some of the developers on board in town that are working to help out. And there's, when you drive by, there's always people there now, and that wouldn't be hard because there's so much space down there to do something like that either, right?
Yeah.
Give the older kids a spot to play. And
yeah, when we presented to council in 2017 with the Parks Committee did a report on what they at the time would like to see, and that included a pavilion space / multi-use space. So the basketball court that could be used for to flood for skating in the winter, that sort of thing.
yeah,
and there's a developer in the northern part of the township that's doing Primrose Estate subdivision, so the northwest corner of 30 Side Road and Mono Amaranth town line, and he just came with his park plan, and we sent him back saying, we want to see a basketball court that you can flood in the winter. For the same reason, he came originally with this massive park block in a development of 30 homes, and where he said, we don't want to have to maintain that park block, so make it smaller and do a parkette. And when he came back, he said, well, what we find in our developments is if people don't actually use the small playgrounds, because most of them have them anyway, so they were sort of recommending just a sort of a communal sitting space. And we said, yeah, that's fine, but put a basketball court in. So
yeah, and that's a good use too, because then it's a spot that's still accessible, and you're going to clean the parking lot, and then it's dual use, and that's even better. If we can flood it in the winter and let the kids play hockey, that's even better.
Yeah,
get them out of the house in the winter too.
And then with the pavilion, so Fiddle Park in Shelburne, I wouldn't think it would be used that much. They've got that sort of pavilion there. I asked about renting it for 1 weeknight for a couple hours in October, and they emailed back and said it's 100% booked for the entire month. So
wow.
I was quite surprised, but the one day I drove by, it looked like somebody was doing like karate lessons there or something. I don't, but if it's going to cost however much it costs to put it up, but if you can rent it that much or even half that much, we've had requests in the past for people to hold weddings in the park. Not many, just a couple, local people that grew up here, and they thought it'd be nice to have a wedding in the park. So start renting a pavilion out for that, then we can start making some money back on it, and plus it gets used. But back to the other point, I don't know that you can put a pavilion in there until you improve the sight lines from the road, because it's going to be susceptible to vandalism. If people can't.
Yeah, unfortunately, you gotta have it so you can see it from the road for sure.
Yeah, but I think it'd be great. Like, we have a beautiful one at the township office. It does get rented, but it's out in the middle of nowhere. Like there'd be a lot more use here. Like if you I think my extended family would rent something like that, I'm sure, for a large family gathering as opposed to having everybody.
The community, like the hall that was on 10th Line that's now turned into a house, was that a Mason's community center or something? Because when we were pregnant with Weston, we had a baby shower there. We don't have, other than the Amaranth Town Building, we don't really have any community rental spaces in this area.
Yeah, it was
Is it Mason's or?
I think it was an
Orange Lodge.
Orange Lodge, because
Yeah,
I went to one event there as well, and I
Yeah.
know when it got
It's a
sold.
great little hall. Like, it's too bad that the township didn't purchase that, because it would have been something in Waldemar for like an event space that.
Yeah, and I know when it sold to they had to rezone it because it was zoned institutional. So
Yeah.
it was owned by, I think it was Orange Lodge.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was. Yeah.
But yeah, that's another great example. No parking there, but you know.
No parking. You're right. Yeah, not a great location. But
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
she's gonna show up. So.
No, I don't think with the few minutes left, she's going to show up now.
It was nice chatting.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Chris, sorry to interrupt. Just one thing before you go.
Yep.
At one time, there was talk of a parkette going in the road allowance between the new subdivision and Russell Hill there. What's the status of that?
So, so that's by Sharon Jordan's house. That it was where originally it was supposed to be a connector road. It's
Yes.
still showing up as a connector road, but at the last time they were in again, I said again that I didn't want that connector road to go through because it's just going to make traffic a nightmare. And they were fine with that. They said that's 100% your call, being the township's call. What we do with that space hasn't been determined yet. That was one of the things I suggested at one time, but I don't think there's actually going to be a parkette there because they are still putting a small park in their development. So it's likely just going to remain vacant.
Okay. Okay. So they'll allow it to stay as is, or would the township have to do something with that?
No, the township owns it. So the township owns to the back of those neighbors' property lines, right? And then on the other side, the developer owns that. And it's a great question though, because I don't know if that ends up being township property. Probably does. We're probably going to end up owning a strip right through to both, but I don't think there's anything in the subdivision agreement that says we have to do anything with it. Like it can just stay there.
Okay, great. I'd rather see it stay like that than a road allowance for sure.
Yeah, no road, because I think we've talked about this before, but if you get more, 9 more driveways on Station Street, you're going to end up people zooming through the subdivision to get over to the bridge rather than going around and in front of all those and through past 3 additional stop signs. So they don't think it's going to be a traffic problem, but I think in reality it would be.
Okay, perfect. Thanks very much.
No problem. Well, thanks everybody. And if you got any more questions, y'all know where I live.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you.